Hi, everybody. I'm Coach Tiffany. I help people heal their relationship with food and their body. And today we're going to talk about your relationship with health. So, the World Health Organization defines health as it says, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmary. So, this is a really important thing to think about because in our culture, a lot of times we define health as being thin. And we don't actually look at, first of all, what's going on with someone's actual physical health. So, regardless of their body size, do they have, how's their blood pressure? How's their blood sugar? How's their cholesterol? How's their energy and vitality? Right? We're not really looking at their actual physical health. And then, in addition to that, we're not looking at mental health and social well being. So, studies show that having a good social network actually is more important for your health than not smoking. It's really critical to have good social support. So it's important to look at that in terms of the context of your overall well-being. It's also important to look at that in terms of systems of oppression. So anti-fat bias and how that will impact someone's health if they are in a larger body, because in our culture, there is, the anti-fat bias definitely sets people up for a feeling of social isolation. It sets people up for othering, marginalization, oppression. So it's important to consider what are the dynamics of the culture that you are navigating and how does that impact your health, your mental health, your social health, your well-being. So first, it's important to look at that. Secondly, it's important to look at focusing on thinness as health and how that really is basically we're looking at someone's external body as a measure of wellness rather than actually looking at what's going on with them physically and how can we support them with that. So when we believe that thinness equals health, we're more prone to diet, right? And to restrict and try to focus on losing weight, often in ways that are unhealthy physically and that don't work long term, right? That actually cause weight cycling and weight gain over time. That's typically what happens with diets. And again, diets fail 80 to 95% of the time. And that's even short term. When we look long term, it's even higher failure rate. Diets also reduce your metabolism, they reduce your muscle mass, they cause a lot of problems physically. So we know that diets don't work, but if we are trying to pursue thinness as health, then we're more likely to diet. And even if diets did work, they cause a lot of mental health issues. So it leads to a high rate of disordered eating, shame, and just generally not feeling good about yourself. So diets don't work and they are harmful. So when we're looking at health as thinness as health, we're contributing first of all to that anti-fat bias, diet culture messaging that our health is dependent on our size. We're also potentially harming ourselves physically and mentally and emotionally. So we know that diets don't work, but what does work? So when it comes to health, I want you to consider how much of the time are you focusing in on food as the way to get, quote, healthy. I would say almost exclusively when I talk to people about health, they're like, oh, yeah, I want to, eat in a balanced way. I want to eat more vegetables. And so we're focusing on food and maybe some exercise, right? But I really want you to zoom out. Um, the statistics are something like 25% of our health is impacted by lifestyle choices. And so this is the entire lifestyle choice spectrum, right? So food and exercise have actually a very small sliver of impact in our overall health and well-being. Mostly it's genetic, it's environmental, it has to do with like life stressors, access to care, social support, financial resources, all of that. But 25% is what we have control over, what we can impact. So in that 25%, again, food and exercise take up a very small amount. But when I talk to people, I would say at least 90% of what they're talking about in terms of health interventions or health changes you can make, people focus on food and body and exercise. Again, that's because of diet culture messaging. We're told that that is what we need to do to be healthy. we're kind of not looking at the whole picture. We're not looking at, those systems of oppression that I mentioned. We're not looking at your social support, your financial support. But even if we wanted to zoom in entirely on that 25% that we could impact, to be balanced in that approach, we really have to look at all of the things that we can do in terms of our health. So, what percentage are you spending focusing on food in your body versus acknowledging all of the stressors in your life, acknowledging all of the circumstances, and then looking at holistic, things that you can do in terms of your overall health and well-being that you do have an impact over. So, if you are like most people, you're focusing on food, you're focusing on exercise, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying by any stretch that um, you know most people don't feel more well when they exercise regularly or when they eat veggies, for example. Although a lot of people are impacted negatively by feeling like they should do those things, that impacts your mental health, which has a negative impact on your body and additional stress added to your body. But aside from those things, if we zoom out and look at other things, then we can really care for ourselves on a much deeper level. So, what are the things that I think are important in terms of overall health and well being? Well, first of all, sleep. I would say one of the number one things you can do is simply get better quality sleep and more of it. So, Google sleep hygiene, experiment with what works for you. Typically, it's things like, not looking at screens right before bed. It's having a dark room, a cooler temperature in your room, maybe wearing an eye mask, right? If you've got small children who wake you up regularly, consider like hiring a sleep coach to help you get those babies resting well so that you can rest well, right? Or make sure that you're adding in additional sleep time so that you're getting enough, right? Some of the other things you can do, taking supplements, drinking more water, getting more sunlight, just simply, paying attention to your vitamin D levels. Some of the other things you can do are adding in more social support, more social engagement, making sure that your relationships feel really good, being more satisfied in your job and your purpose in your overall life. So those are many of the things that we can start to do that aren't necessarily food and exercise focused. Let's see, stress reduction, stress management, those are huge. Learning how to navigate your emotions and the sensations that are happening in your body. So, building body attunement and honoring your emotions in other ways, getting therapy if you need to, addressing unhealed wounds, so trauma that's still stored in your body, addressing that trauma. This is a huge one that I work on with clients, and it has a tremendous impact in their lives and allows them to feel much more balanced in what they're and how they're navigating the world and feeling much more joyful. And so these are all things that we can do. There's a million other things you can do as well, but I just want you to start thinking about what percentage of the time are you thinking about health in terms of I need to change the way that I eat or I need to change the way that I exercise, instead of looking at it very globally, your overall health and well-being, the conditions that you're being raised up in, that you're moving through the world in, and then looking at of that 25%, am I looking at the full spectrum of things that I can do here? Something like quitting smoking can have a tremendous impact on your health as well. So, if there are barriers, if there's things that are causing you to feel unwell, then, making sure we address those. Pain management, that's a huge one. So I keep throwing out more and more, but basically the point is zoom out, look at the whole big picture, recognize that, food and body, food and exercise really probably only contribute to like 5% of our overall health and well-being. And so, why are you spending 80% of your focus on health on that food and body piece instead of the whole big picture? All right, I hope this was helpful and thought-provoking. If you have questions or would like support, feel free to reach out to me, Tiffany at Coach Tiffany RN. Hope you have a good day.